Hey everybody, and welcome to the Dad Pod. On this week's episode, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be sitting down with my good friend Geof Hilton again, and on this week's episode, I wanted to give a life lesson that both Geof and I had learned about being a good receiver. So this episode is going to be a little bit shorter, and I hope you like it on life lessons for dads. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Dad Pod. On this week's episode, I brought back my good friend Geof. Hi, Geof.
Hello.
And he's with his daughter, Lane. Lane, you want to say hi?
Say hi.
Hi. This week we're trying out a new streaming service. It's called StreamYard. So as you can tell, Geof's got like a nice little duck up there in his corner of his video. But on this week's episode, we just kind of want to do a shorter episode. And one of the things we wanted to talk about, and all things talking about dad, was some of the lessons that we're learning and that we're going through right now. And so Geof's going to join me today. And today our lesson, or our takeaway lesson, is going to be becoming a good receiver. So, Geof, you want to try to talk with your rowdy crew back there and get us started on what's going on and your story that you had prepared for us about becoming a good receiver?
Yes, I do. Sorry.
You're good. No worries. I can keep talking if you need. Good job, Lane. That's what I like.
Yeah, let's do it. Can you hold?
Well, Geof's busy right now, so I'm going to keep talking. He's got some family things. Welcome to the Dad Pod. You know, you got your family there. I hear you, Lane. One of the things we wanted to talk about is kind of being a good receiver. A lot of us dads at the time, I think, one of our duties that we feel like we're obligated to do is be a provider. And sometimes when you are providing and you're in that realm of providing, you're so much more willing to give service and be that service giver. You're not so much willing to receive the service in times of need. And so today we're going to be talking about some of the humbling experiences that Geof and I have gone through the past year that have kind of gave us a new perspective on being a dad, and that sometimes it's okay to humble yourself and let other people help out with you. Other people, not just including your family, like you should let your family help out, but sometimes some of those friends and other strangers. And so, Geof, I'm going to turn the time back over to you. Hopefully you got some free time now. You got things settled over there. And Geof, you just kind of want to tell us your story that has been going on that relates to becoming that good receiver.
Yeah. So when my wife's last pregnancy, we had a baby in October. There were some complications with it, and basically, what ended up happening is, for the health of the baby and Ashley, she had to stay in the hospital, and so she ended up spending like 34 total days in the hospital during that pregnancy.
Oh my gosh!
And
was that before or after?
It was most of it was before. So okay. It was just trying to make sure that the baby came safe.
Gotcha. And there's that input by Lane. So take it for what it's worth, people.
And so, yeah, that was a crazy time because, like, not those 34 days, they weren't all like consecutive.
Our other co-star guest is getting a little bit wild with the microphone, so we're gonna have to restrain her, Geof.
Yeah, it's okay. So our those 34 days weren't like consecutive. She like spent a couple, and then we went home, and then she had to go back in, spent like a week, and then we went home, and then she had to go back in, and then she stayed like 3 or 4 weeks straight. Gotcha. And so the last like 3 or 4 weeks were really hard because anyways, the hospital was in Provo, and where we live is in Eagle Mountain. They're like 40 minutes away. And so anyways, we just in order to make it work, my parents had to come live with us. and they had to watch the kids while I went to work, and it was just hard because
Yeah.
no matter where I was, if I was with my wife, I felt like I should be with my kids because my kids didn't have a parent. If I was
Yeah.
with my kids, I felt like I should be with my wife because my wife was all alone and in the
Yeah.
hospital, you know. And
So juggling that husband responsibility and dad responsibility, you kind of just
yeah,
felt trapped, right?
yeah. And anyway, so like to make it work, we got lots of help. Like my parents literally just lived with us and provided free daycare basically. And more than that, like they, you know, they would spend the night with the kids so that like
Yeah.
I could go, you know, be with Ashley or something. And
Yeah.
anyways, it was a lot of stuff going on. And so yeah, we had my brother-in-law, he would like come and mow our lawn. The people in our neighborhood, even though we hadn't been here that long, they would like come and they'd bring us food and stuff. And
Yeah.
anyways, it was awesome how much help we got, but it was
Yeah.
a crazy time still.
So like receiving all that help, how'd that make you feel like at first? Like what kind of emotions and like feelings did you feel? Like
Yeah, it was hard. Like I think the hardest part is it just I guess I just felt like I was worthless because
yeah.
it's like
Right. Yep.
anyways, just how much I had to depend on other people, you know. uh it was hard. I felt like anyways, it just wasn't a position I'd been in very often.
Yeah.
And so it was awesome that they did it though. Like I
Yeah.
remember like being overcome with emotion, just how much help people were helping me. And yeah, and the thing that they kept on saying, like I heard from other people, it's like, you know, everybody has a time where they need to get help.
Yeah.
And the way you pay it forward is that you can give help whenever the people around you need the help. And so
Uh-huh.
anyways, it was just awesome that they were there to help as much as they did.
Yeah. I understand that in law school I felt some of those I want to say guilty emotions, and I don't know why I felt guilty, but I felt like, you know, you had those responsibility as a dad and as a husband to be there for your family, and you just kind of felt like I wasn't meeting any of those needs because my whole life was consumed by law school, and
Yeah.
that was hard to kind of live with, and to get through those emotions. And I don't know if I got through them effectively. I mean, I know I didn't get through them effectively, I should say. I'm still dealing with those recompressions, whatever, with those emotions because, you know, it's just hard to deal with those because you're like, I have so many responsibilities, and I'm used to being that guy who can do them all, and then you go into, I can't do any of them, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's yeah. I don't know how to like describe it. It was just hard. Like
it is.
anyways, I was just grateful. I was just so grateful that I had family that was able to support me as much as they did.
Yeah.
You know, and
Gotcha.
anyways, it was nice.
Yeah. And then, you know, to go along with Geof, I had something similar last year. I started a new job, and the 4th day on the job, I got in a car accident, and I got thrown into the wall, and I was luckily okay and everything, and my car was totaled and everything. And then my wife, she was pregnant. I think she was in her first trimester or second. Anyways, she was like deathly sick. It was like turn on the TV and just lay on the couch all day. Um, and so me getting in a car accident, that was hard because I couldn't. I tried to go to work and then try to come home, and I couldn't move. You know, messed up my back and my neck, and there were days where like I couldn't even like lift my kids up, and I had to go to physical therapy and everything. And you just kind of feel totally worthless, right? You know, I mean, I remember I had one of our friends come over and like make some jello for my son because that's how like broken I was. And I just, you know, you're sitting there like, what a mess, man. Like, I'm usually a capable guy, and I think maybe you feel this way. Maybe you don't. I don't know. I feel like the way we were raised in a small town, you're a little bit more hands-on, and the way our parents were really self-efficient, and you were kind of always taught to solve the problem and figure it out on your own. And so being able to do that for such a long time and kind of be that provider, the service guy, because Geof did scouts, I did scouts. You do a lot of service projects, right? You go help all these other people that need that help and they need that service, right? And so most of your childhood, you're growing up just giving service a lot, but you never really receive it, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I think these two experiences kind of really, they just kind of forced us to be exactly, Reed. They forced us to be, compelled to just allow people to humble us.
Yeah.
So we've shared similar experiences. I think other dads out there have shared similar experiences. But I want to take a break right now, and when we come back, we'll kind of pull out the lessons from those experiences of being basically compelled to allow other people to help you. Hopefully, you dads out there haven't come to that point. You've allowed other people to help you along the way, where you're not kind of being compelled because of certain situations. If you have, then you know exactly what we're talking about. But we're going to take a little break right now, and when we come back, we'll kind of pull in that lesson of what we learned about becoming a good recruiter. And we're back, but this is a new segment that me and Geof wanted to implement into the Dad Pod, and this new segment is called Dad Jokes. So you're welcome, all you dads out there looking to get your kids with some good dad jokes and get some humor out there, some funny puns. Now, me and Geof kind of came up with the idea. I'm not very jokesteristic, I should say. I'm just funny to laugh at, I think. I'm not really funny with my words. It's more of my facial expressions. So hopefully Geof's got some good jokes. I got one good joke, but I don't know if it's funny. I think it's funny when I heard it, but do you want to hear mine first, or do you want to
go for it? You go first.
Okay. Why can't a cow drink milk?
I don't know.
Because he lactose intolerant. Lactose, you get it? He's got he's lactose.
That's good.
Lactose.
That's good. That's a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know how other people think about this, but like I have a hard time knowing what exactly a dad joke is. Like,
yeah,
if a dad makes it, then it's a joke, right? Like that's what happens.
I guess make up a joke then.
Yeah. So mine. It's not like I guess a normal joke. I'm wearing a shirt here. For those people that aren't watching the video, it's a silhouette of a gator, and inside of it says later. So it says later gator.
Yeah.
And anyways, there's a funny story behind it because the person that bought me this joke, and I'm gonna try to keep them anonymous, but anyways, the person that bought me this joke, this shirt, they bought other shirts. And there are two shirts. There's a donkey one, and in it said smart. And then there's another donkey one, and in it said Jack. And they bought these donkey shirts, didn't know what like the play on words was.
Yeah.
And they gave them to like people in their family. Anyways, I thought it was funny. They like wear the shirts all the time. And anyways.
Yeah, I'd wear the shirt all the time.
Yeah. And so and then another I guess dad joke. It's just something that a dad did. It's about your dad.
Okay.
So when
my dad, Herb,
we played football, your dad was our coach in like 7th grade.
Yes.
And
There's a lot of things.
I just remember like one time a parent came to talk to him and was like, "Why isn't my kid playing?" And like word for word, like I don't know if I heard it or if someone said it. Your dad was just like, "Well, your kid sucks."
My dad was an honest person, okay?
It was like straight up just told him. And I was just like, oh, like
Hey, I'll try to buffer for my dad, okay? So for all you dads out there who are competitive, my dad is really competitive. Like if he's losing a card game, he will flip the table and just start like this is the dumbest game ever if he's losing. So I'm gonna paint a picture because Geof,
is that a true story? I don't know if
it's
I'm
a
making
true
that up.
story.
Okay,
It's a true
okay.
story, but I'm
Okay.
gonna kind of buffer for my dad here.
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so we were playing Virgin Valley. It was our rivals. So obviously, if you're playing your rivals, you want to win. You don't want to lose. And I think we were actually in 8th grade, but my dad was a 7th grade coach. And I think the Virgin Valley kids didn't have enough kids on their squad. So they wanted to bring down a couple of the 8th graders just to play a couple like non-key positions, and that we could bring down some 8th graders to play some non-key positions. And so a couple of us went down and we played, and I remember I think they ended up losing by like 3 points or something. And it was like the end of the game, right? So it was like end of the game, we ended up losing by like 3. And so my dad is livid because he felt like we should have won because he plays the defensive coach, right? So that's on him that they lost because they scored at the end to win and everything. And so my dad's kind of fuming that he couldn't believe kind of how the events played out. The dad comes down from the stands and he tries to confront my dad. And Coop's dad's there, so Mendes is there, and he's trying to like get the guy to calm down because this guy is kind of rallied up. My kid's out here, he's playing, blah 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 blah. He's like, he works his butt off. Why isn't he playing? And my dad's perspective was, your kid is too timid. He doesn't like to get hit. And this is like 7th grade. So obviously we're not in our full grown, big muscular bodies and everything. And so my dad's perspective was, I'm not playing your kid because I don't want him to get hurt, man. Like your kid's small. He's kind of weak. I'm trying to protect him. So I only play him a couple times to get him kind of used to the game, right? Because in 7th grade, I think back then, we didn't play tackle football until 6th grade, right? So like, you're kind of getting used to that. Anyway.
Yeah.
But the way my dad handled it is the way that Geof said. So I thought he kept asking, and Cooper's trying to like calm him down so he can answer the question. And finally, my dad just had enough because he knew the guy wasn't listening, and he just I think he threw his clipboard down and he was like, "It's because your kid sucks," and he walked off. And then like both the dad and Mr. Cooper were just sitting there kind of like gobsmacked, like, what just happened? Like, anyways, so
all right. I shouldn't have told that story. My bad.
No, dude, good. It's classic.
It's classic.
I think there's a lot of stories about my dad that I think a lot of my friends have. So my dad's just that funny character guy because my dad just kind of, maybe there's people out there, but I never knew anything bad that people said about my dad. They just always said he was funny. And he was probably a little bit too truthful at times. So I think that's just one of those, I was too truthful. Obviously, you remembered it. So
that's awesome.
All righty. We're going to go back to the show. So we'll be right back. That was our little segment for dad jokes and dad stories, I guess we could say. So we'll be right back with the show. And we're back. So hopefully you liked our little dad story session that we did. Let us know if you liked it, or if you didn't like it, that's fine. You can let us know. Like I said, the dad pod's kind of all things dad. And one of those things that dads do is they experiment a lot. And so me and Geof are trying new things. So hopefully you like it. Hopefully you keep listening to us. But we're going to go back into our stories and the lessons that we learned about becoming a good receiver. So just kind of recap, Geof kind of went through a hard time with his last baby and the pregnancy. He kind of was away from his kid for about a month. I got in a car accident last October and was basically gone for about 2 months with a back and neck injury. And basically, we had to rely on other people to lend a hand and to help us out with our families because as a father, we couldn't really do that providing and we couldn't really do that, I guess, fatherly duties. Is that a good way to say it, Geof? I mean,
Yeah.
we just kind of felt torn. We felt like we had dad, and we had husband duties, and we kind of just felt like we were failing at both because we had to split time at different locations. And so, but now we kind of want to talk about that, like the thing to learn from those experiences. And I'll turn it over to Geof. Geoff, you want to highlight some of the things that you learned? Like
Yeah.
what was your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess some thoughts I had about it is that time period where we were like just getting served like all the time, and the people that were serving us, they weren't like expecting anything back,
Yeah.
in a way. Like that's kind of like a allegory for like parenthood, like with
Yep.
your kids. Like your kids, that's all you're doing is like serving them and helping them, and you're not doing it so that like they'll repay you or whatever, but you're doing it
I'm
because
doing definitely for repay.
yeah, you're doing it so that like you can, I don't know, you love them and you want to take care of them and make sure that they turn out to be good people.
Yeah.
And and I think, when they get older, it could flip where, they're serving you. And like in my mind, I guess I kind of thought that's how it would be, but it turns out not, because Ashley was in the hospital and I had to keep working. My parents came and just lived at my house.
Still
They bought
helping.
us food. They
Yep.
watched my kids like 24/7. It's just, anyways, it doesn't seem like it ever stopped. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm rambling now, but
No, dude, it totally makes sense. And I think kind of going off of what you said, I think you mentioned it earlier. There's a time where you're providing that service, and there's a time to be receiving that. And
yeah,
I think the hardest thing is to know which one you're in. Do you know what I'm saying? I think,
yeah,
and I think that's kind of for me personally, that's my hardest thing, is because I think I'm always in this. I'm serving. I want to be the server. I want to help people. I want to serve. I want to help. I want to help. And so it's really hard for me to identify that this is a time to just let other people serve you, And I think, like you said, as a parent, you're doing it all the time. There's so many things like feeding your kids, helping them get dressed, teaching them life skills, how to brush their teeth, and then it never ends, right? So they go to school, you help them with their homework, they do sports, you help them with sports, it just continues forever, right? And you as a parent, you're not expecting anything in return. And I think that makes it sweeter when your kids do, serve you down the road, right? And like you said, maybe who knows, you might be taking care of your parents down the road. I don't know. But like Jeff's parents, they're still helping them,
yeah.
To me, it was just really like an eye opener. As they always say, it takes a village to like raise your kids or whatever, And I think that's true to some extent. I still think as a parent, it's your responsibility to teach them the manners and how to act and how to behave in public and everything. But I think it does take that village for when you do go down, right? So like I didn't have family. Me and Brady are here in Kansas City, and we had really good friends that, they made us dinner all the time, and they still make us dinner. And I don't think they ever were like, okay, no, you're going to make us dinner, right? Like, hello, and we had other good friends that just kind of stepped in and they started making us dinners. And it was like, I could have came home and bought dinner every night or whatever, right? But it was just that village trying to help me and our kids. We had people take our kids. They babysat them, just give us a break because they knew I couldn't hold one of my kids or, I couldn't do certain things because of my back and my neck.
Yeah.
And so My biggest takeaway is it's okay to learn to be a good receiver. And I think if you don't learn how to be a good receiver, you think about how that other person feels when you try to give them a gift. Like, have you ever given a gift where the person didn't receive it well, and like how that made you feel? Makes you feel like crap. Like, you're like, I put all this time and effort into it, and I gave it to them, and they're just like, "Gee, thanks. Like, that was dumb." And you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay." Like, "Oh man, like I had all this. I was doing it from my heart. I was doing all these things." And you kind of feel gypped. And I think that's some of the things that I mean, I struggle with it as a dad. I really do. When people serve me, I'm kind of like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's those moments like this where it's like it's okay to learn that, and it's okay to take the steps to learn in the process to learn that.
Yeah.
Because I think go ahead.
Oh, sorry, keep going. I was just gonna say, like, I don't know, all the people that kept on helping me, they were like, "Hey, we had a time like this where,
Yeah.
we can, uh, we needed help, and
Yeah.
people were there to help us, and so we wanna, pay it forward." Like,
Yeah.
even though I wasn't the one that was, supporting them when they were going through that, they were like, "Hey, we went through this, and we see you're going through this, so we're gonna help you."
Yeah.
And the way you pay it is you down the road do it for someone else,
Yeah.
It doesn't
Dude,
have to be for the people that serve me, it's just for
dude, the same, man. I had the same people come up and be like, "Man, you're really going through it." I remember when I was really going through it, like, you know, and but I was gonna say that if you don't learn how to be a good receiver, and I think this was an eye opener for me, is I had to learn to be a good receiver from other people. So hopefully, when my kids get older and they start giving gifts, I can be that good receiver for them. You know,
for
that
sure.
was my takeaway because I don't want to. There's so many things you can do. Like you look at your kid wrong, or you have the wrong tone of voice, or whatever. It just kids are trying to learn how to control their emotions and read the room, and there's so much things that they're learning, right? And so I know for me, um, I have a daughter who's on the spectrum. We found that out today, so that's kind of one of the things that is an eye opener to learn a different world. And she's very empathetic towards emotion and people. So like when I come home and I start like, ranting to my wife about just like what a crappy day I've had from work, she gets upset and she starts to cry like I've been yelling at her, right? And I'm not yelling at her. I'm just kind of venting, but it's just like I kind of have to really learn how to control those emotions and the tone of my voice, right? And so when I talk about that being a good receiver, um, if I don't learn those things now, when my kids get old enough where they can kind of think for themselves when they give that gift to me and I don't do a good job receiving it, I think it's going to backfire on me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you just gotta
um,
practice so, you can do the insta tears, so whenever they do give you that gift, you can be like, start crying and stuff, and
Insta tears, Jeff. I'm not that good anymore. um, So that's our short little episode. I know it's about like a half hour, but we just wanted to do a short little episode about a life lesson that we learned, and we hope that those who are listening, that you could think about times when you were a good gift receiver and when times you weren't, and maybe you can pull some examples that me and Jeff talked about, and from our little discussion, and you can kind of work on those things. Because the dad pod and everything it's all for dads, but it's also for any parent that's out there, and we just want to encourage your dads out there and parents to do the best you can, and to recognize, like Jeff said, that sometimes it's just your turn to receive help, and to pay other people back. You do it down the road when someone else is going through it. And I think another takeaway is there's good people out there, and there's always good out there, and all the news and everything kind of does everything that's bad and everything that's wrong in the world. But these are the day-to-day lives of good people out there helping other people who are down and injured. So that's all I have to say. Jeff, do you want to have any remarks? Do you want to close out with?
no, I think that's well said, and, yeah, agree.
Okay.
So
Alrighty. Well, we're gonna close out, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.